21st of April, it's a big number for number of the day, 360 million rand, Francis heard. And we're talking about this because the country's top cop in court today, all to do with tenders and questions being asked about the PFMA. What is that?
So the PFMA is the Public Finance Management Act. And yes, this is an interesting case because you have the top cop and he's not being charged directly for corruption, right, which is often the case. He is being charged for not doing his legal duty as the accounting officer of the police. Now, the accounting officer, in terms of the law, is not your accountant, but the head of the department who has some legal responsibilities. And I thought it was really interesting. This comes from the Constitution, firstly, which mandates that any organ of state, so if it's national, provincial, or local, has to do procurement, which is basically the buying of goods and services, in a way that is, this is what the Constitution says, fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective. And that is to prevent looting, which is where you and I become state officials and we start giving tenders to our friends. And then they give us some of the money, we all share the money, and we use the state, we use taxpayers' money to all become rich. But it seems like that is what's happening, right? So this 360 million was a tender to Vusi Cat Matlala. Cat is his sort of nickname.
And that's important because when he appears in courts again 13th of May, he's going to be standing alongside Cat Matlala.
Yes, because now it is becoming a broader corruption case, which is interesting. So I'll go back to the PFMA. But Cat Matlala, I mean, they call him a cat. I'm starting to think like an octopus or something because it seems like he had arms and tenders in so many state institutions. And he's the common denominator in a lot of these cases, cutting across local government, the Tshwane Metro Police. It sounds like a free-for-all with tenders. The Joburg, the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, national. Now, so let me explain what the PFMA, what Fannie Masemola should have done and what he didn't do. So this 360 million rand tender was awarded to Cat Matlala's company, Medicare Tshwane District, in June of 2024. Now, Fannie Masemola was allegedly told twice that there was a problem with this tender, but he didn't stop it. Now, remember Babita Diekuran, the whistleblower who was killed. She had raised payments that were made from Tshwane Hospital, Tembisa Hospital, and one of the tenderpreneurs implicated in that already was Vusi Cat Matlala. So there were public red flags. So it sounds like he knew there may have been a problem. Then the PFMA says that the accounting officer, so it's 38, section 38 of the PFMA, the accounting officer for a department, trading entity, or constitutional institution must ensure that the department, trading entity, or institution has and maintains effective, efficient, and transparent systems of financial and risk management and internal control. That is just the beginning. It goes on and on to say all the things he should do, but basically he's accused of not stopping unauthorized, irregular expenditure, not taking appropriate steps to prevent that, allowing payments to proceed to Medicare 24 despite non-compliance with contractual obligations. So contractors in place, you should stick to what your obligations are, and the SAPS should have been checking that, not ensuring that the company was properly vetted and tax compliant, not then taking disciplinary action against SAPS officials involved in unlawful procurement. So essentially, he's accused of knowing that whatever was going on was unlawful and not stopping it, even if you can't prove that he benefited via corruption.
Because he is, in this case, the most senior official who's supposed to have conducted all of this. He obviously knew what was in the PFMA, and despite all the warnings, it didn't get it done in time, which is, and the buck, the 360 million bucks stops with him in the end.
So Juanita Hunter, who's a really good journalist, has raised this issue that often we don't see accounting officers in court under the PFMA. And she said it could be a little bit dangerous, but remember now things have changed, right? He's now going to be linked to a broader corruption case. It could be a little bit dangerous because it's not often used, so it could become weaponized to go after the head of any institution if anything is going wrong in that institution. And then you could get people who get scared. By the way, I do remember that the SABC head, Cloudy Motsoeneng, was charged under the PFMA. Remember, his salary was increased, and there were contracts that were under scrutiny. So she's also saying officers could get scared, and bosses of any state institution could get scared to sign any tender or any document, because then they can get implicated down the line if they don't know everything that's going on.
The other side of this is that, yes, it might scare some of those people into being extra cautious. Perhaps it might end up with them being unwilling or too frightened to do anything. But from a public perspective, one could argue that this is exactly what you want to see, because the PFMA, it's not particularly sexy content, but it's very, very important. Most people don't know how it works. And now that there's going to be a spotlight and a focus on this, more people are going to begin to understand what these accounting officers are doing out of the public eye and now being brought into the public discourse. So it's actually not a bad thing, I think.
I agree, because it's also enforcing what should be enforced in the public and private sector, which is that if you are the boss of an institution, you cannot scapegoat your employees if things are going wrong.
Right.
You have to know what they're doing. You have to put processes in place to make sure that they're doing things in accordance with legislation. You cannot do, and we're seeing this at the Matlala Commission, that the heads of departments are coming and saying, oh, yeah, that sounds bad. Maybe I should have checked more thoroughly. You cannot be stupid.
You accepted the position as the accounting officer. You would like to imagine these people know exactly what the processes are, have to tick all the boxes, and when they see anything, even however small it might be, they start flagging it and stopping it and showing proof that they've tried to stop these processes.
Exactly. So let's end there to just say that our number of the day is the 360 million contract that was awarded to Vusimusi Matlala. Who seems, we cannot say anything categorically, but the claims are, right, that he was in with a whole lot of public officials and favors were done to get state contracts. So the PFMA, the law that the top cop is being charged under, is technical, like you say, a little bit boring, but it is the Public Finance Management Act, which says that people in charge have to make sure that when anything is procured, when anything is bought, it is done fairly, transparently, competitively, and you don't give the big bucks to your friends.